Let's move to number 20 now. Now, initially when I look at 20, I don't necessarily know what method of factoring is going to be yet, but what I do know is that my first step should always be GCF. Now, I could do the GCD function between 12 and 3, and for practice sake, let's go ahead and do it. I know most of you know already what the GCD is, but let's just do it for practice sake, right? So I'm going to do math, number, 9, then I'm going to do 12, comma, 3, enter. I know it's 3, so boom. Just as many of you said already, it's 3. Skip a space, I'm going to put my 3, and I'm going to factor that out. They don't have any letters in common, so I'm going to divide. 12 divided by 3 is 4n to the second power minus 1. So now I'm checking this out in the parentheses, and of course I'm bringing my GCF down so I don't forget it. Now inside this parentheses, I notice it has 2 terms. 2 terms could only be what method of factoring again? Difference of perfect squares. So looking in here, I'm saying like, all right, I got 4n squared minus 1. Looking at 4n squared. 4 is a perfect square, good. And if I wasn't sure if it was a perfect square, what would I do? Okay, let's check it on the calculator. I would literally just go here. I'll press second function. Then the x squared button has the blue square root, and then I put 4 in. If it give me a whole number, then it's a perfect square. If it give me a decimal, then it's 9. Boom, whole number, I know it's a perfect square. I can do the same check for 1. My exponent is even, and I have subtraction, so I know I got difference of perfect squares. So let's talk about the 3 things that we just checked for. First, we checked for perfect square number. Perfect square numbers, right? Pardon the penmanship, the pen is slipping. Perfect square numbers. Then we check for subtraction. And we also check for even exponents. So once we know we have all these 3, then we know we are good to go with difference of perfect squares. And we do. So then now I'm just going to create my 2 parentheses, and I'm just going to go straight to the answer because we can. And then what's the square root of 4? Well, we just found it out. It's 2. And what's the square root of n squared? Anytime we're taking the square root of something with an exponent, you just take that exponent divided by 2. So since we know that 2 divided by 2 equals to 1, that means we're just going to get n to the 1 power. And we know that's just going to be n. So I'm going to put n on the left and the right of each. Then 1. The square root of 1 is just 1. Because 1 times 1 is 1. So we put 1 on the right of each. Then 1 is plus, 1 is minus, and we are all done. Questions? All right. See you in the next.